is on. Yeah, she's good.
Okay. If everyone can hear me, I'll call this meeting to order. We're the Corpus Christi Business and Jobs Development Corporation, also known as the Type A Board. Today's Monday, November 16th. The time is now 2:32 p.m. And we'll start with roll call. The Secretary.
President Scott Harris,
Present.
Robert Thames, Diana Summers,
Here.
Leah Oliveri,
Present.
Lee Trujillo,
Here.
John Balls is absent, Alan Wilson.
Here.
Okay, we do have a quorum present to conduct the meeting.
Thank you, ma'am. Item C on the agenda is public comment. Have we received any public comment?
No,
for this
sir,
agenda?
we have not.
Okay, recognizing no public comment, we'll move to item D, which is our minutes from our meeting in October on the 19th. Do we have any corrections? Has the board seen the minutes and have reviewed them?
Motion to approve.
Just one question.
Okay, we do have a motion, but we have a question by Mr. Tenez.
No, that's fine. Disregard.
No? Okay, so we have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wilson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay, the motion carries. Item E on the agenda is our financial report through September 30th.
Good afternoon. Heather Hurlbert, Director of Finance. Okay, bring the presentation. Next slide, please. So the numbers that I'll be getting is for the 12 months ended September 30th for 2020. These are unaudited numbers, so there may be some slight adjustments to them, but just due to the type of programs, these should be substantially correct. So, yes, sorry about that. There we go. So for the Seawall Fund, beginning fund balance was $46.6 million. We did collect $7.8 million in revenue over the year. There was expenditures of $9.7 million, leaving us a fund balance of $44.7 million in the Seawall Fund. Next slide, please. For the Arena Fund, we began the year with a $22.2 million fund balance. Revenues to date were $7.5 million. Expenditures to date, $13.3 million, leaving us an ending fund balance of $16.5 million. Next slide, please. Then for the Economic Development Fund, began the year with a fund balance of $14.6 million. We had revenues to date of $153,000. Expenditures to date, $7.7 million, leaving an ending fund balance of $7 million. There are $5 million of outstanding commitments against that, along with estimated expenditures of $74,000, leaving a fund balance available for commitments of $1.9 or almost $2 million. Next slide, please. And then going through and looking at the commitments on the economic development, we do have affordable housing, which we still have $737,000 of remaining commitments against them. These are the Homebuyer Assistance Program, the Fishpond Development, and the Community Development Corporation of Brownsville. The majority of these are scheduled to be paid out in fiscal year 2022. Next slide, please. Under the major business initiatives, there are 4 programs equaling almost $4 million, and those are spread out over fiscal year 21, 22, and 23 through 25. Next slide, please. We have the small business projects. These are primarily contracts which are for each fiscal year. As you see, we did have a lot of these contracts, especially the ones for the internships, were not utilized as much this year due to COVID. And then as we roll these financial statements over, you will see the new contracts that were approved by the board in 2021 when we come back next month. Next slide, please. And these are the final numbers for our sales tax. Even with COVID and the economic downturn, The sales tax collections were 4.75% less than what was budgeted, and that equates to about almost $364,000 that we came in below what was budgeted. So overall, very fortunate that the numbers could have been a lot lower. So that does conclude my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
I don't have a question. I just, can you get together with Matt from the American Back Center and just tell him to email us the expenditures
Sure.
up to date? I know there's been repairs and all that. I'd like to know, bring up to date as to what has been done there.
So for the arena fund is what
Yes.
you're referring to, the 13 million, okay? We can definitely get you a schedule of what those expenditures were.
Make a motion to accept. Oh, we don't need.
Yeah, we don't need a motion. Any questions for Ms. Heather? Okay.
Okay.
Hearing none, that concludes your
Okay,
report.
that does
Okay.
conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no regular agenda items this month, so we'll move to our first presentation, item 3, which is our quarterly update from the EDC. Mr. Culbertson.
Good afternoon. Mike Culbertson from your Corpus Christi Regional EDC here with good news. Let's just start right through, shall we? We have Del Mar College Process Technology number 2. Remember the process technology that this board did? It is blowing and going, right? One of the things that in the EDC that we're looking at is when companies come is the ability to have trained local citizens. Now they're not bringing people, local citizens, and this is one of the things that this board has seen fit to do. Number 1 with process technology, and next with process technology number 2. Process technology number 2 is $2.3 million. They have all of the equipment at West Campus. If you ever go to West Campus, when they open this, we will invite Type A board, but not Type B, the Type A, to come out and take a look at it. And it stretches, all the way down from glycol into the various natural gas, all the way through, and it's just one big thing with the control center inside. It's very impressive. I've been doing that. I've been watching that. So everything's in. It expires in 23, but the grant is 1.2 left, and we shall pay that out certainly in this fiscal year, meaning before September of this fiscal year, but next year. Like I said, they have everything on site. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry. Next slide, please. Yeah, I was just flying. And next slide. Remember, for consulting engineers, the important part about them is most of their work, 85% of their work is outside of, and if you ever took a look at the guidelines, it says outside of 50 miles from the corner of Leopard and Staples. So right there. It's so, and most of their work is along the border or government. They had a grant of 125. Now, they had a requirement to finish their building 1.4 million, and they did not make that. However, this board gave them an extension till December 31st of this year, and they're about to complete it. I'm going to go to the ribbon cutting on either the December 8th or the next week after that, and take a look. And it's part of my compliance that I do for you. So they are tracking well. They had already gotten their job count and moving. One of the things that I know that we're worried about, restaurants, movie theaters, hotels, tourists, but you need to remember everybody else kept working. The refineries kept working, Gulf Coast Growth Ventures kept building, Steel Dynamics kept building, people kept going in these big industries that the EDC, kind of focuses on. So those are important. So they had a problem. The ICE, they were slow because of COVID. They couldn't get things. They're almost complete, and I will check that out for you when I go there. Next slide, please.
Mike, when's the ribbon cutting?
Sir?
When's the ribbon cutting?
It'll be the 11th or the next week after. What is that, the 18th?
Okay.
December, yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, so let's talk about Texas A&M. Texas A&M, we looked again on how we can train local people. And one of the things that we looked at was industrial and civil engineering. This board passed that for $2 million. Now, this helps them with the labs. So they had to go through the legislature, they had to go through the higher education board, and they've done both, and they've been approved for both. Then they set up the curriculum, and they've set up the curriculum. They have students in both civil and industrial, and so now they're starting to work on the labs. They have paid out somewhere around 133,000. They have 440,000 more that they've already accepted, and then the rest of it they will finish when they build out the labs. Some of the problems they've had is the company that they use, the SSC for the Texas A&M system, have been doing the COVID, where doing construction work or whatever, modifying classrooms to deal with the COVID and be able to have classes. So they have thrown all the other ones out. They have a couple of professors that are moving here, and they have gone over the equipment and done it, but they still need to order. So they have until 2023 to get that complete, and they believe that that'll be no problem. So, but they're already doing it. Are you a civil engineer, sir, Mr. President?
Yes, I am a
There you
civil
go.
engineer.
So they do. I was aerospace, and the only thing we did was pull the iron bars apart and crush wood, things like that. So I'm sure there's much more to it than that. Next slide, please.
So Mike, on the civil engineering program, I don't
Yes,
want to
sir.
belabor
I'm
this,
sorry.
but their program is up and running for the fall of this year.
Yes, they have.
However, the labs are not in place. Is that
Yes,
correct?
but they can use other labs,
So they're using industry labs like
Right.
from that are,
other
okay.
portion of it. But
Okay.
remember,
That's consistent with the message I got from the president of the university. So.
but the other thing is, I remember at UT, it was really funny. We run around for the first 2 years calling ourselves aerospace engineers and petroleum engineers, but I didn't take an aerospace engineering class or a fluids class or a thermo class until I was a junior anyway. But yes, sir, they have them in and they're doing. Let's talk about
I had a question. Excuse me, Mike. Just a quick question. There's some of this training that's been in process. I think some of it in the different engineering programs. At some point, are y'all tracking like what happens to the graduates? How many people? Not just how many people are trained, but are we being successful in keeping them in local job market?
Yes, we do. That's one of the requirements in the agreement, and we'll be tracking that.
Okay, but what? Okay. That's fine.
We'll be
Thank you.
there's not a, if they only get 50% to stay here, I mean, that's not a, yes, yeah. It's not a requirement that'll reduce their intake.
Okay.
You can skip the next one. That's a type B.
Okay, yeah,
Funded.
we're not even gonna invite them to the ribbon cutting, so here we go. Next, please. Okay, now we're going to talk about small business assistance, and this board, and thankfully, has seen the need to continue that even through the hard times, and so there are two that are fiscal year. In other words, they ended in September, and they started a new grant in October, and these are Lift Fund and SCORE. Lift Fund only used 30,000 of their grant, and so the grant remaining is 119. You will see that come back as into your general fund for use later. They do have some that are working on new loans, and remember, this is the loan where you buy down the interest rate and we go forward from there. So that one has been approved for this next fiscal year for 150,000. Next slide. SCORE was one that, they were able to pivot quickly. So they went to online, they brought people in. Their grant was 54,000. They used all but 551, and so that'll return. So you got the 551 in your pocket. Some of the things they've done, I mean, they have email, they have workshops, all of these things. Now, the nice thing about the Zoom or whatever, is that they were able to continue that. And so to help small businesses through this on, how you can get out there, how you can continue your messaging, things like that. So they did a great job, and they live over in on SPID with the SBA, the Small Business Administration, and you approved their grant for this next year at the same amount of $54,000. Next slide, please.
I have Mike, one comment on that, and it's probably because I was reading the draft of the multi-county economic development sustainability plan this morning, but did they do anything teaching people about use of the cloud or ways to ensure business continuity in storm events?
That's really more the SBDC with Del Mar.
Okay.
SCORE is really
Okay.
does marketing and how to,
Okay.
for example.
Does
Yes,
SBDEC do it?
yes, they're the ones
Okay.
that help them through technical parts. Okay. Let's see. So let's talk about the internships. Obviously took a big hit because students weren't in class, and small businesses were depending on which one you were going to. Del Mar had a grant for these. The year was January to December, so their grant still has another month and a half. All right. They had a grant of 150. So far, they've used 30,000. They have 4 interns, luckily, for that are here working for this semester. So you'll see another couple of invoices. It expires on December, and then this board approved another grant, but only for 100,000 because they've been kind of tracking a little bit low, and you knew how that was going to work out, especially for 2021. If we get the vaccine, then, I don't know what will happen. But they'll be ready. Texas A&M has done a little better. They had 150,000. Next slide. They had a $150,000 grant also, and they've used 42. They have 14 interns, which is doing really well. They can have as much as 29 in a semester, so they're about halfway, and you'd expect something like that. This board approved a grant again for $150,000 for next year. Next slide. PTAC, let me talk to you about a couple of these next ones. PTAC is Procurement Technical Assistance Center, and it helps small companies qualify, certify, get all their stuff ready to do government procurement for state, local, city, federal, anything you can imagine. So far, they've through the first 8 months, they're still tallying. The first 8 months, their clients have received $20 million in contracts. They've held 28 events and have 288 attendees. They are still open. They are going well, and obviously they were able to pivot also and do Zoom classes, Zoom conferences to help people through. The board approved the grant for next year of $99,000. Next slide, please. So that's the government side. Let's talk about when the EDC brings in Gulf Coast Growth Ventures, Steel Dynamics, all of those. There are local use requirements, and one of the things we do is they need to post bids here in CRC, and CRC has gone out and we've helped them get contacts, but they've done other stuff themselves. They're reaching out. They're trying to get. They've had 8 workshops with 114 attendees. They have 21 large companies that are in their database that helps them through. They have a grant of $133,000 for this year, and they've used 97. And this board renewed their grant at $133,000 for next year, next calendar year. All right, final quarter. Let's talk about next slide. Perfect. Next slide. Del Mar College, the Small Business Development Center. Could you imagine where we would be had we not had this board not put out the grant to help them, they would be at two counselors, two. Now they're at 5. They have 5, and they're working through this, and they've been swamped. They've been swamped not only for helping people, but because of the PPP, because of the EDL, all of those things, these counselors have been helping them through. So it was a renewal. It actually, it says expires then, but you did the renewal, and then it goes until next year, and it's $150,000. And it's just, you just give it to them. I stand by to, let's see, is there one more? Nope. Yeah, questions? Any questions?
Thanks, Mike. Do we have any questions from the board?
All right, we're ready to
Okay.
go.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, item 4 on the agenda is our housing update. This is an update we requested last month specific to Fishpond and the CDCB projects. So,
Hi, good
You have an update
afternoon.
for us?
I'm Jennifer Buxton, the Homeless Services and Workforce Housing Manager. Rudy Betancourt will be joining us for the last slide. Can I have the next slide, please? Fishpond Living at Corpus Christi. This is that property that's purchased 6th Street between Hancock Avenue and Buford Street. They purchased the street and the right-of-way that divides the properties. It's a 4-story serviced by an elevator property. There'll be 112 units on an acre and a half approximately. The bedrooms are all, or excuse me, the bedroom size is 1 bedroom. It's approximately 700 square foot a unit. And the units will all be for persons at 60% area median or below. And there'll be 70 surface parking spaces. Can I get the next slide, please? They've made quite a bit of progress to getting to where they can break ground. They have requested that the electrical line be removed. That's usually a 2 to 3 week process. They're hoping to get it done in 2, and we're about halfway through that. They've pulled their building permits. They paid $57,000 in park enhancement fees. They've surveyed for their fencing. They're determining whether or not they're going to put up the permanent fencing right away or if they're going to do temporary fencing. There's a debate right there. They may skip the temporary and go right to permanent. Their engineer is developing their traffic control plan. Once that's done, they can work around 6th Street. And construction's anticipated to begin this month, and they want to be done by January 2021. Can I get the next slide, please? Congress Park is the project that was presented this spring. It is at the decommissioned park at about 4017 Capitol Drive. That came off the park rolls in November 2014. It's almost 2 acres. The RFP for it was for a home ownership project for homeowners at 80% or below the area median income. The winning response, the solo response, was from Come Dream, Come Build. The RFP was issued in about early 2020, or excuse me, we're going to go back to the City Council at about early 2021 for approval of the general concept. Congress Park, just to go back and provide a little history, the agreement is supposed to be, once the agreement has been executed, we'll have the project, excuse me, let me start that over. They're supposed to provide the detailed project concept and scope within 60 days of signing having the executed agreement. As I discussed, 80% or below area median income for a family of 4, that's around $40,000. The project is supposed to be complete within 2 years. It depends on how many homes the concept ends up being. We may end up doing fewer units of a larger size, but Come Dream, Come Build doesn't usually do spec homes. They might do a couple here, but it depends on how many of their pre-qualified home buyers choose this property. It's anticipated that it wouldn't take an entire 2 years, but that would be the length of the agreement. The board approved $154,227,000 to be applied on a reimbursement basis upon certain construction metrics. The use of the property has to be affordable housing for no less than 20 years. And there is a clawback feature if the project is not completed on time or if it's not limited to affordable housing. Can we go?
Ma'am, I have a quick question on
Go
that.
for it.
So they have 2 years to complete their project?
Yes.
Was that from the point that we authorized them this past year?
That was what was agreed upon when let me rephrase that. There is no executed agreement, but that was what was presented when this board approved the project this spring.
Okay. And
I don't think,
So-
city council did not approve it yet, right?
No,
Yes.
they have
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, city council had some questions on compatibility with the existing neighborhood. And
Okay.
wanted us to do some outreach with the neighborhood immediately surrounding that Congress Park.
And-
that's been done?
No, it has not
No,
been.
it has not.
Keith was there. Is Keith on the line? Keith or Rudy, can you guys speak to that? I don't know if Rudy knows.
Yes, sir. This is Rudy
Rudy.
Bentoncourt,
Yes, sir.
Director of Grant Monitoring. Yes, we after the meeting with the Type A board, we took this to council, and basically we had to do some additional work with the developer and with the council members to update them and give them the project concept and what it may look like. There were questions along the way, and all those questions have been answered. So the next step would be to likely take this back to council in the beginning of next year, and then go from there. And then, hopefully, if everything gets approved, execute an agreement, and that would trigger the 2-year start. Of course, it wouldn't take that long, but that would trigger that.
Okay.
Yeah, so early next year, then we'll bring it back to council.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt. And Alan, did you have a question about?
Actually, y'all answered my question. I
Okay.
was just going to see if the neighborhood had been talked to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
come drink.
asked that question before we approved it, if they had any communication with the community on the kind of a housing development that was
And-
being there.
Yeah.
And the owner said, the developer said, no, he hadn't.
They have not yet, but Come Dream, Come Build does design charrettes on almost all of their neighborhoods. And they will do one for this neighborhood as well.
What's the name of the developer?
Come Dream, Come Build.
And they're out of Brownsville?
Yes, they have a local office, but they're one of the largest affordable housing developers in all of Texas.
Okay.
For single-family homes. And they are in South Texas.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
It's
Go
okay.
ahead.
Can we have the last slide, please? Rudy?
Oh, yes. Hi, this is Rudy again. The update for the down payment assistance program, currently there's a balance as of September of $83,000. We funded an additional 3 home buyers for $30,000. We also just issued 2 additional commitments for 2 home buyers. So after those commitments would be funded, with the available balance we would have available for the down payment assistance program would be $33,142.22. And that is the last slide.
Are there any additional questions?
Thanks, Rudy. Do we have any additional questions from the board?
On the home buying assistance program, did we ever get any information on what it would take to maybe increase those grant balances? I think right now they're $10,000.
Yeah, who's,
I think it was taken down from 20,000.
yeah. Diana, you're coming in broken. We can't quite hear you.
Right, I think I understood the question. I know there had been a couple of responses in the past about increasing it to 20,000, but right now, since we only have 33,000 left over, once these are done, then we would be taking over that program through the home program. So we would be offering the 10,000 down payment, and the 10,000 of closing cost assistance through the home program.
Okay, so they'll have access to that money. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't hear it. I can hear it. I don't know.
Okay. Hearing no further questions, does that conclude your report?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Item I on the agenda is Executive Director comments.
Yeah, we
City
don't have any,
manager?
no additional comments today, Chairman.
Okay. Future agenda items?
No,
Okay.
no future agenda items from the staff.
At this time, I'd like the board to consider possibly, if there's no December, significant items on the December agenda, can we possibly cancel the December meetings for both A and B and just meet again in January? Is staff comfortable with that?
Yeah, we're comfortable with that.
Okay.
I certainly can see the benefit of A. I feel kind of bad about 2 meetings in a row on B, but if there's nothing to do, there's nothing to do.
Yeah, we won't meet for A or B until January.
Okay.
That should be fine, and if something comes up, we can communicate with the chair if we need to schedule something,
Okay.
you know, if there has to be a special meeting. We don't,
I have a suggestion for
cancel.
y'all to look into, if you could, possibly.
Hold on.
What?
Leah, are you saying something?
I'm trying. I can hear y'all perfectly fine. You all can-
Yeah, I can hear you, Leah.
Yeah, the problem is it's from through. It's not, I can hear Diane.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a question. I'm sure I have the information. Peter or Constance, when we did the budget for this fiscal year, we were kind of in the dark about where sales tax was going to be. Are we under budgeted? Are we going to exceed? Okay, I'm sorry. Do you think we need to relook at that, or are you comfortable with the, I was trying to recall.
yeah, so we're wrapping up the fiscal year that ended September 30th, and we'll have that analysis out soon for the full city council and you all. But the summary is we did a little bit better than our revised estimate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had our sales tax projections with COVID, we brought everything down. In the end, we're doing better than what we thought we would. It won't have any impact on the type A or B in that we spend only what we have. And but we'll be having a report. In fact, tomorrow I'll be providing city council with a unaudited closeout from the fiscal year that ended September 30th, and we'll share that with this board after
Okay.
that. Yep. But better, like, the short answer is we did better, much better than what we thought.
The reduction was about half of what we originally first thought, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. At first, we had a pretty big reduction, and then it was about half, and then with our final numbers, it's even a little less
Yeah.
than that. So
Yeah, it was.
yeah, that last sales tax check we got was it was better than last year. Let's put it that way. Yeah, yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, do we have to make a motion to to cancel the December meetings, or is that just my
I
approval?
think you can make that recommendation as long as there's consent, and it seemed like there was consent, so. yeah,
Okay,
I
so
think it's
we don't need to make a motion, it's just,
Right.
our next meetings will be scheduled for the month of January then. Okay.
Can you hear me now? Because I have a recommendation I'd like y'all to consider.
Go ahead, Leah.
Could we establish, I know we're in sort of a transition period here, but we're getting emails from a lot of different people regarding this meeting. I'm not talking about you, Mr. Chairman, but is there a way that the city could consider having like a standard email address that for these notices and from staff, so that it all comes from, type A staff instead of different people?
Yeah, we can do that. We'll come up with, let us come up with a recommended staff person, Leah. You're talking about you're talking about the meetings in general, right?
Well, yeah, because no offense, I know everybody's trying to keep us informed, but we get notices from at least 3 people, and then we
Oh, I
get the
see.
web.
Oh, I see, sorry.
City
Okay.
council, yeah, and sometimes it's just different. I know it's all the virtual stuff, maybe by January it won't be as big a problem, but
Okay.
the city council WebEx, for some reason, I have a lot of trouble searching back for that email.
Okay.
I don't know why, so I don't find it very easily.
Yes.
If I'm, okay.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, because I thought it was people emailing, outside people emailing you, but it's us emailing
No.
you, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
like some people had to cancel some meeting notices
Okay.
this time, and
Okay, no problem.
but there's different staff that are coordinating this, so
Yeah.
it's a little confusing sometimes who you're looking for. I forget who sent me what email. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So, there being no further business, I'll call this meeting to adjournment, and the time is now 3:07 PM. Thank you, everyone.